Hello and welcome to this week's English lesson. If you are wanting to add more detail to your English sentences so that you sound more fluent, then well done, you are in the right place. I am your host, Natalie, and today I am going to be teaching you some adverbs that will allow you to sound more fluent in your English conversations. Please remember to download the attached PDF file that will assist you even further with your English language learning. All of the information is available on my website, learnenglishwithnatalie.podia.com, and you can also find that PDF available in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's lesson and you're ready to take the next step in your English learning journey, then please subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any further lessons. Now, let's get to it. So what are we going to learn today? Today, we are going to learn all about adverbs. You are going to learn what adverbs are, why they are used. You're going to use different types of adverbs to ensure that your English conversation flows. In this episode, we're also going to have a little bit of conversation practice to get you ready for your real-life English conversations. Now, a complaint that I usually hear from English language learners is that they feel so overwhelmed with the amount of information that is out there. But trust me, you don't have to be perfect. Don't worry if you don't know all of the adverbs in the English language. That's not the goal here. The goal is to get you to use adverbs fluently and confidently. So maybe just try concentrating on the ones that we will cover in this episode. Practice using the adverbs that you learn in this session, and you can build on your vocabulary at a later time. Before we dive into some examples, let's quickly review what adverbs are. Adverbs are words that add extra information to verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. They answer questions like how, where, when, how often, and to what extent something can happen. An example of an adverb of how is she sings beautifully. How does she sing? Beautifully. An example of an adverb of when is they arrived yesterday. When did they arrive? Yesterday. So notice that I am giving the information they arrived, but my adverb is giving extra detail of yesterday. It is telling you when that happened. An example of an adverb telling you where something is he looked everywhere. What did he do? He looked, that's his verb. But where did he look? Everywhere. That's my adverb. Everywhere. An example of an adverb describing how often something happens is I rarely eat out. I eat out. How often? Rarely. So not very much. I rarely eat out, or I eat out rarely. An example of an adverb telling you to what extent something happens can be found in this sentence. She was extremely tired. So my core sentence here is she was tired. But my adverb tells me to what extent. She was extremely tired. Not a little bit, extremely tired. We're going to focus now and zone in on adverbs of manner. Adverbs of manner tell you how something has happened. An example of an adverb of manner is quickly. I'm going to say that in a sentence now. He finished the test quickly. How did he do it? Quickly. He finished the test quickly. Can you say that sentence? Well done. Another example of an adverb of manner is carefully. How did she do it? Carefully. Here's an example in a sentence. She carefully packed her bags. She carefully packed her bags. Can you say that? Wonderful. You could also put the adverb on the end instead. She packed her bags carefully. Another example of an adverb of manner is the word happily. Happily. The children played happily. How did they play? Happily. Let me say that sentence again, and then you're going to have your turn. The children played happily. Your turn. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to give you a sentence, and I want you to add an adverb on the end. So the sentence I'm going to give you is, she speaks. Can you add an adverb of manner on the end of she speaks? How does she speak? She speaks. What did you come up with? Let me know in the comments. You might have said she speaks confidently. She speaks quietly. She speaks arrogantly. Now notice that often adverbs of manner end in ly. In the examples we looked at, quickly, carefully, happily. But please note that not all adverbs end in ly. Now let's take a closer look at adverbs of frequency. So this is how often something happens. An example of an adverb of frequency is always. For example, I always drink coffee in the morning. Always. How often does that happen? It happens always. I'm going to say that sentence one more time, and then you'll have your turn. I always drink coffee in the morning. Your turn. Brilliant. Another example of an adverb of frequency is rarely. Now, if you're listening to this and you're not watching the visual episode, I'm going to spell that word out for you. Rarely. Arely. It's very rarely. Rarely. He rarely watches TV. That means he doesn't do it very often or very much. He rarely watches TV. Can you say that? Fantastic. The third adverb of frequency that we will focus on is occasionally. Occasionally. Can you say that? Wonderful. And occasionally means that you do this on occasion, meaning you do it sometimes. We occasionally go to the beach. We occasionally go to the beach. Can you say that? Excellent. Well done. Now, here's a little mini quiz for you. I want you to think about your daily habits and routines and practice describing your routines out loud using adverbs. For example, I never skip breakfast. Or I always take the train to work. Have a go. Now let's zone in on adverbs of degree. An adverb of degree tells you to what extent something happens. For example, the word very. So I'm going to give you a sentence first of all without an adverb, and then I'm going to add the word very. The movie was exciting. Now I'm going to add the adverb very. The movie was very exciting. By adding the word very, I am telling you that it wasn't just exciting, but it was actually more than that. It was very exciting. So the adverb very is increasing how dramatic this adjective of exciting is. Another adverb of degree is extremely. Extremely. It's extremely cold outside. I'm telling you how cold it is. To what extent, to what degree is it cold? It's extremely cold outside. Can you say that? Fantastic. And another adverb of degree we're going to look at is the word hardly. Hardly, which means not very much. I could hardly believe it. I couldn't really believe it. So the adverb here is hardly. I could hardly believe it. Your turn. Excellent. Now that we've explored some different types of adverbs, I want to put your knowledge to the test. Let's see if you can fill in the blanks of these sentences. I'm going to give you the sentence, she smiled. What adverb could you add on the end of that sentence to tell me how she smiled? So I'm looking for an adverb of manner. She smiled, blank. Off you go. Have you thought of one? Let's go to number 2. We blank go hiking on weekends. So now I'm looking for an adverb that tells me how often something happens. So an adverb of frequency. We blank go hiking on weekends. Can you think of an adverb that would fit in that sentence? Off you go. Did you think of one? Let's go to the third and final sentence. It was blank hot today. It was blank hot today. So now I'm looking for an adverb that tells me to what extent it was hot. An adverb of degree. It was blank hot today. Can you think of an adverb to go in that sentence? Okay, let's go through some answers. Now, you might have come up with perfectly good adverbs that I haven't come up with, but here are my answers, and let's see if they are similar to the answers you came up with. The first one was, she smiled. How did she smile? Warmly. She smiled warmly. You might have said she smiled happily. Number 2, we usually go hiking on the weekend. We usually go hiking on the weekend. You might have said we occasionally go hiking at the weekend, or we rarely go hiking at the weekend. And number 3, it was extremely hot today. It was extremely hot today. You might have said it was rather hot today, which means it was quite hot today. Well done. I'm going to share with you now some top tips for improving your use of adverbs. My top tip number 1 is this. Wherever you can, listen to native speakers in their flowing English conversations. You might listen on TV, at work, or on podcasts, and try and notice how they slip these adverbs in smoothly into their conversations. Tip 2. Avoid overusing adverbs. Not every single sentence needs an adverb, or else your English language is going to sound silly and not very fluent. So use them sometimes when it is appropriate, but don't try and force them into every sentence. And tip 3, practice writing. Maybe you could keep a diary or a journal where you practice writing your everyday habits and routines. It only needs to be a couple of sentences or a short paragraph, and try and use some adverbs in your sentences. And that takes me on to activity time for this week. So your activity this week is to write a journal using adverbs that we have covered in today's lesson. You don't have to do this every single day, but obviously the more you practice, the better you're going to get. So writing a journal entry where you include the use of adverbs so that you can improve your fluency of these words. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, comment wherever you're listening to this show. It really means a lot and will definitely help me to grow this. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, and I'll see you next time.